I'm Victoria Hovel.
And I'm Mike Duffy.
And we are public health specialists with the Oklahoma State Department of Health who specialize in public bathing. The video that you're watching today is Pool School, where you will learn how to be a pool operator.
Take good notes because you will be taking a 25-question test at your local health department.
Let's get started. Public bathing places pool operator training. What is a public bathing facility? A public bathing facility is a swimming pool, wading pool, spa or therapy pool, and or a water attraction. Water attractions include water slides, flow riders, and lazy rivers. Any of these public bathing facilities can be indoor or outdoor. Throughout this presentation, we are going to be referring to pool, but this means a public bathing facility. Some public bathing facilities are considered open to the general public and others are not. Some examples of pools open to the general public are your water parks and city pools. Some examples of pools not open to the general public are your hotels, motels, apartments, homeowners associations, and health clubs. You are here today to learn how to take care of a public bathing facility. The main way that you do that is by promoting good sanitation and safety, record keeping, proper maintenance of the bathing facility, and maintenance of all physical and mechanical equipment. Promoting good sanitation. An important aspect of good sanitation is pool water balance. Pool chemicals, water analysis, and turbidity need to be recorded daily. Animals are not allowed in the pool. However, service animals are permitted on the deck. Ensuring safety. You are responsible for ensuring the safety of the bathers in the pool. Enforcing the rules and regulations, restricting drug and alcohol use, and ensuring the life-saving equipment is in working order are the primary ways that you protect the bathers. You should also conduct 2 emergency drills annually. Maintaining equipment and facilities. So the operator should maintain the gates, doors, fencing, signs, and report any unsafe conditions. The operator should also ensure that the showers are operating and that they have liquid soap there. Some other pool operating requirements. The pool operator has to be at the pool daily to ensure that the regulations are being followed. That means a once-a-week pool service company does not qualify as a pool operator. A pool operator can cover more than one facility if they are close in proximity. The public bathing place operation regulations are located in the OSDH Public Bathing Place website. So what's wrong with this picture? So we have some kids that are roughhousing over here. One's trying to push one into the pool. We have a dog that's swimming in the pool. We shouldn't have animals in the pool. We have this kid running. We have the tarp that's still over the pool, so we shouldn't have bathers in the water if we still have it partially covered. Lighting, so these lights, they aren't really tall enough, so they're probably attracting a bunch of bugs that are going to fall onto the deck and eventually get into your pool. Radio, so this guy has a radio and we don't know if it's hooked up to a GFI outlet or not. These ladies are enjoying their glass margaritas by the poolside and we shouldn't have glass by the pool. The gate is open and it looks like it's also broken. So we should have our self-closing, self-latching gates, and they should always be shut so that way little children can't get into the pool without a parent or guardian. We have these bushes in the back. They're impeding the view, so you should always be able to look into the pool area and see if someone's in there. We have multiple people on the diving board, and that's not allowed. We have these wires over the pool that are pretty dangerous and they shouldn't be over the pool. This person has a bandaged hand, so we don't know if there's blood, and we don't want that to get into the water. So if you have a communicable disease or if you have a bandage or something like that, you shouldn't be swimming. We have these chemicals over here that are unattended that these children could easily come and play with, and so we don't want to do that. They should be secured in a different part where the kids do not have access to them. We have a kid that doesn't have a parent or guardian with them. We have the hose that's strung out on the deck, and this kid very easily could trip over the hose. There's some trash in the pool right here. There's multiple swimmers that are in the diving and slide area, so these kids could obviously jump on top of them and can hurt them. I don't see any ladders or stairs to get out of the pool. I don't see any depth markers to show how deep the water is. I don't see any skimmers or gutters to help take the trash and debris off the surface area or the surface of the pool. It doesn't look like there's a lifeline to show that this is the shallow end and then this is a deep end over here. You cannot see the main drain at the bottom, so the water's pretty cloudy. I don't see any safety equipment deck side, so no ring buoy or shepherd's crook. I don't think that there's any pool rules posted, because if there was, these kids wouldn't be roughhousing and playing on the pool deck. And it doesn't look like the no lifeguard on duty sign is posted. Throughout this presentation, we're going to be talking about many different things. So today's outline is calculations, water chemistry, how to shock your pool or how to treat for an accident, how to adjust your chemicals, the parts of the pump room, the pool itself, rules and safety equipment, the bathhouse, and how to winterize or close your pool.
Okay, we're going to discuss some calculations. We're going to go over some simple math on how to figure the area, volume, bathing load, and flow rate of a pool. I'm going to give you a few definitions so that you'll understand what we're figuring. The definition of a square foot is a square 12 inches wide by 12 inches long. The definition of a cubic feet is a cube 12 inches wide by 12 inches long by 12 inches high. 1 cubic foot of water contains 7.48 gallons, and 1 gallon of water weighs 8.33 pounds. Now I'm going to give you the definition of some symbols that we have up on the screen now. A is area, L is length, W is width, H is height, R is radius, which is half the diameter, pi is 3.14, which is a constant, and pi r squared is the area of a circle. A few conversions that you'll need to know are ounces to pounds. So you take ounces divided by 16, that gives you pounds, and foot ounces to gallons. You take your foot ounces divided by 128, and it gives you your gallons. Area of a square or a rectangle. The area is equal to the length times the width. In this case, the length is 3 foot and the width is 3 foot. So 3 times 3 is 9 square feet. The area of a circle. The area of a circle is pi r squared, pi being 3.14, which is a constant. R is the radius, which is 1/2 the diameter. In this case, the radius is 5 feet. So pi 3.14 times 5 squared gives you 78.5 square feet. Okay, now we're going to figure a surface area. Surface area simply is the length times the width. In the example above, we have a length of 40 feet, a width of 20 feet, so we have a surface area of 800 square feet. When we're figuring the diameter, we have a diameter of 24 feet. What is the area of the pool? So we simply take 3.14, which is pi, times 12 squared, and we have, it adds up to 452 square feet. Now we're going to figure the volume of a square or a rectangle. So the volume of a square or rectangle is the length times the width times the average depth times 7.48. 7.48 being the constant, which is equivalent to 1 cubic foot of water. The average depth can be found by adding the shallow and deep end and dividing by 2. This will allow you to determine the total gallons of water in the pool. In this example, the length is 40 feet and the width is 20 feet. The average depth is 4 feet because we take 5 plus 3, which is 8, divided by 2, gives us 4 feet. So now we're going to multiply 40 times 20 times 4 times 7.48, which is our constant, and we see that we have 23,936 gallons. Figuring the volume of the circle. The volume of the circle is pi r squared times the average depth times 7.48. This gives you the total gallons of water in the pool. In this example, pi is 3.14 times 12 squared times the average depth, which is 3.5, times 7.48. When we do this calculation, we arrive at 11,837 gallons. Here are some examples for figuring volume. If the pool is 45 by 25 with an average depth of 4.5, what is the volume? So we simply take 45 times 25 times 4.5 times 7.48, and we get 37,867 gallons. For a spa, plug into our formula is pi times 7 squared times the average depth, which is 3.5 times 7.48, and we get 4,028 gallons. Now we're going to figure a pool bathing load. The bathing load is the maximum number of persons allowed in the pool enclosure at one time. The bathing capacity must be posted in the pool enclosure. Bathing load is important because it ensures that the water is safe and clean for the swimmers. To find the bathing load in the shallow end, divide the surface area of square feet by 15. To find the bathing load of the diving area, divide the surface area of square feet by 24. So in the example that we have up here, you see that there is no diving area, so we're simply going to take length times the width, 40 times 20, 800 divided by 15, and we get 53 people. On the next example, you see that we actually do have a diving area that's 1,200 square feet. So we're going to divide that by 24. We're going to divide the swimming area, which is 1,800 square feet, by 15, and see that it'd be 120 plus 50 equals 170 people. Spa bather load. Spa bathing load is one person per 3 linear feet, or one person per 200 gallons, whichever is less. The next item we're going to discuss is turnover. Turnover is the number of times that the water is completely renewed, completely filtered within a 24-hour period. The requirement for a pool is 1 time every 8 hours or 3 times in a 24-hour period, although 6 hours is what we recommend. The wading pool is 4 hours, but 2 hours is what we recommend, and a spa is 30 minutes because of the hot water and the higher organic concentration. For a pool, 8 hours, which is 480 minutes. For a wading pool, a wave pool, or tube rider, 4 hours, which is 240 minutes. And a water slide, which is 1 hour, which is 60 minutes. And a spa or lagoon is 30 minutes. Flow rate. The flow rate is the number of gallons of water per minute that pass through the system. To calculate the flow rate, take the volume of the pool and divide by the turnover rate. For a pool, that's 8 hours times 60 minutes, or 480 minutes. For a wading pool, that's 4 hours times 60 minutes, or 240. Spa is 30 minutes. This is how you figure the flow rate of a pool or a spa. If the area of the pool is 30,000 square feet, what is the flow rate for an 8-hour turnover? So we simply take 60 minutes times 8 hours, which gives us 480 minutes, and we divide that into 30,000 gallons, and we see that we have a 63 gallon per minute flow rate. For a spa, the 1,600 square feet, what is the flow rate for a 30-minute turnover? We simply take the 1,600 square feet, divide it by 30, and we see that we have 54 gallons per minute. Next item we're going to discuss is water chemistry. The elements necessary for proper pool water balance are proper chlorine level, proper alkalinity level, proper pH level, proper calcium hardness level, and proper cyanuric acid level for outdoor bathing facilities. The three processes to remove harmful organisms and organics in the pool water are sanitation, which is the process of destroying organisms that are harmful to people, oxidation/shocking, which is the process of chemically removing organic debris from the water, algicides, which control the growth of algae in the pool or spa water. Chlorine and bromine are typically used as sanitizers in swimming pools and spas. Chlorine sanitizes, oxidizes, and controls the growth of algae in the pool or spa. Some common types of sanitizers are chlorine tabs, brominating tabs, which is the second picture on the screen, and salt, which a lot of the newer systems are using now. Some types of chlorine available are chlorine tabs, chlorine gas, and liquid chlorine. Chlorine should be kept between 1 and 5 parts per million, the ideal being 2 to 4 parts per million. Now we're going to discuss the types of chlorine, stabilized versus unstabilized. The stabilizer used in chlorine tabs is cyanuric acid. Cyanuric acid acts as a sunscreen. Stabilized chlorine is mainly used for outdoor pools. Two examples of stabilized chlorine are sodium dichlor, which is 55% available free chlorine, and sodium trichlor, which is 90% available free chlorine. The percent available is the amount able to react with the organic compounds in the water. Most facilities will use sodium dichlor because the pH is 6.8 to 7.0. This is a pH that is closer to water. If you use trichlor, you'll have more free available chlorine, but you will have to continually add soda ash to balance the pH. Now we're going to discuss unstabilized chlorine. Types of unstabilized chlorine: calcium hypochlorite, which is 65% free available chlorine, and it's also used to shock the pool. Sodium hypochlorite, which is liquid chlorine, which is 10 to 15% available chlorine, free available chlorine, and lithium hypochlorite, which is granular, which is 35% free available chlorine, which is commonly used in indoor pools. Chlorine gas is rarely used these days due to the dangers which require specific safety equipment. It is 100% free chlorine, but has a pH of 1. The next sanitizer we're going to discuss is bromine. Bromine is commonly used in spas because it is more stable in hot water. Bromine pools should only be shocked with bromine-compatible shock, and bromine should be kept at a level of 2 to 4 parts per million, ideally around 3 parts per million. Now we're going to discuss salt as a sanitizer. Salt systems are becoming more and more popular today because people think it feels softer on their skin. Salt pools create chlorine through electrolysis, which splits the sodium chloride to create free chlorine. This means that salt pools contain and sanitize with chlorine. Consult your manual on the amount of salt needed that is added directly to the pool. There are a few supplemental treatments that you need to be aware of. For chlorine shock, you can use potassium monopersulfate. Ozone is a strong oxidizer and disinfectant generated on site through UV light or electrical sparks. And you can also use an ionizer to control algae growth in the pool by using a copper or silver. This will add heavy metals to your pool, which will interfere with your testing. If these supplemental treatments are used, the primary sanitizing agents, such as chlorine or bromine, are still required. The next item we're going to discuss when dealing with water chemistry is total alkalinity. Total alkalinity is the measure of resistance to the change of the pH. It buffers the pH of the water. You always adjust alkalinity prior to making a pH adjustment. Another name for alkalinity up is baking soda or sodium bicarbonate. Alkalinity should be kept between 80 to 200 parts per million. The ideal alkalinity is 100 to 120 parts per million for dichlor, trichlor, and bromine. The effects of low or high alkalinity. Low alkalinity will cause edge plaster, corroded metals, stained plaster, eye and skin irritation, destabilized pH and an unstable chlorine level. A high alkalinity will cause pH that is hard to change, scale formation, poor chlorine efficiency, eye and skin irritation, and cloudy water. The next water chemistry parameter we're going to discuss is pH. pH is the value that determines how acidic, that is corrosive, or basic a solution is. pH is a temporary condition. pH is important for 3 reasons: vessel and equipment protection, swimmer comfort, and sanitizer effectiveness. Muriatic acid is the chemical used to decrease pH, and soda ash is the chemical used to increase pH. Here we have a pH scale with various pool chemicals marked on the scale. The pH for pool water should be kept between 7.2 and 7.8, ideally 7.5. Water has a pH of 7. The pH of sodium trichlor is 2.8. The pH of soda ash is 11.3, and the pH of calcium hypochlorite is 10.4. So you can see that when you add these chemicals to the water, it does have an effect on the pH of the water. Now we're going to discuss what happens when your pH is either too high or too low. Basically, for a low pH, you will have etched plaster, corroded metals, stained plaster, eye and skin irritation, destruction of your total alkalinity, and unstable chlorine. For a high pH, you will have scale formation, cloudy water, short filter runs, eye and skin irritation, and poor chlorine efficiency. Always adjust your alkalinity prior to adjusting your pH. The next water chemistry parameter we're going to discuss is calcium hardness. Calcium hardness is the amount of calcium and magnesium dissolved in the water. Improper levels can cause etching of the pool or formation of calcium deposits, thus affecting your pool finish. Calcium hardness should be kept between 50 and 500 parts per million, ideally between 200 and 400 parts per million. As I said earlier, a low calcium hardness can cause corrosive water or foamy water, and a high calcium hardness can cause scale formation, chemical that's less effective, and cloudy water. Do not add calcium chloride the same day as you add soda ash or sodium bicarbonate, as this will cloud your water. The next water chemistry parameter we're going to discuss is cyanuric acid. Cyanuric acid is the stabilizer used in swimming pool water. The stabilizer protects the chlorine from sunlight dissipation. Cyanuric acid is not an effective sunscreen for bromine. The cyanuric acid level should be kept between 30 to 100 parts per million in outdoor pools, ideally around 30 to 40 parts per million. As you can see in the chart that we have for you here, the demand for free available chlorine increases as the cyanuric acid level increases. Increased cyanuric acid levels reduce the chlorine effectiveness. So if the cyanuric acid is 300 parts per million, the demand for free chlorine will be 15 parts per million for a 60-second kill. This is above the acceptable range for pool water. To decrease cyanuric acid, the pool must be partially drained and fresh water must be added.
Water testing. A DPT test kit is required to test the pool water. The chlorine, pH, and turbidity will be tested 4 times a day. Total alkalinity, calcium hardness, cyanuric acid, and total dissolved solids will be tested once a week. High chlorine levels will affect the accuracy of the pH, alkalinity, and calcium hardness tests, so be aware of that. The water sample should be taken 18 inches below the surface, so about elbow deep, and you want to make sure that you are in between the return inlets. Do not take the sample right in front of it because you won't get an accurate test. Here's an example of a DPT test kit which is required to test your pool. It is color-coded and it does have the instructions on the lid of the test kit. So yellow is your chlorine, pink or red is your pH, green is your alkalinity, blue is the calcium hardness, and white is your cyanuric acid.
A DPT test kit is required to test the chemicals in the pool water. The instructions are on the lid and are color-coded to go with each test. The first test that we're going to perform is chlorine and pH. Mike has already filled the flask to the 9 millimeter mark and the 44 millimeter mark. For the chlorine test, we will be using the 9 millimeter mark. First, you will drop 5 drops of reagent 1 and another 5 drops of reagent 2. For the pH test, you will be using the 44 millimeter mark, and you will drop 5 drops of reagent 4. Make sure that you keep the chemical container completely upright when doing it so that you get uniform drops. Then you will invert the test and check the colors. It looks like the chlorine is about 3 and the pH is about 7.6. The next test that we are going to be performing is the total alkalinity test. For this test, you will fill the big cylinder on your flask to the 25 milliliter mark. Mike is going to be using a different flask so that you can see the color change a little better. So you will drop 2 drops of reagent 7 and 5 drops of reagent 8. You will then swirl the mixture to make it turn green. Then you will titrate the test. When you titrate the test, make sure that your bottle is up and you drop 1 drop and count each drop that you drop until it changes a nice pink color.
7.
Once it changes that pink color, you will times the number of drops by 10. So Mike counted 7 drops, so that means the total alkalinity is 70 parts per million. The next test that we are going to be doing is the calcium hardness test. For this test, again, you fill your flask up to the 25 milliliter mark. Mike is still using a different tube so that you can see the color change better. You will drop 20 drops of reagent 10 and 5 drops of reagent 11. Again, you will swirl the mixture. It should change a pink color. Then you will do the titration again. So make sure that you keep the bottle completely upright and you count the number of drops while you swirl until it changes blue. After it changes blue, you will times the number of drops by 10 to get the total calcium hardness.
13.
Mike counted 13 drops, which means that the calcium hardness is 130 parts per million. The final test that we are going to be doing is the cyanuric acid test. This test is used for outdoor pools only. You will use the little plastic bottle in there and fill it to the 7 milliliter mark. Then you will add reagent 13, which is another 7 milliliters, so you fill it to the 14 milliliter mark.
Heartbeat showing that. That's close.
Afterwards, you will cap it and shake it for 30 seconds. After you're done shaking it for 30 seconds, you will drop it into the smaller tube. There's a black dot at the very bottom of the tube that you will look at. And while you're dropping it, it should change where you can no longer see it. It'll turn like a cloudy color. And now it looks like the dot is obstructed. So if you look on the side of the flask, you'll measure where the water line is. And right now it looks like it's 30. So it's 30 parts per million cyanuric acid.
We have now concluded the test we were going to demonstrate for you today. We will now discuss total dissolved solids.
The next two tests, total dissolved solids and heavy metals, are performed for heated water. So your indoor pools, your spas, and if you have an outdoor pool that is heated. Total dissolved solids is the measure of total dissolved combined organic and inorganic substances present in the water. TDS, which is total dissolved solids, is tested once a week for spas and indoor pools. Most facilities use strips to test the water. If you have a high TDS, in order to lower it, you must partially drain the pool and add fresh water. High TDS can result in salty tasting water, colored but clean water, algae despite good sanitation levels, cloudy water, corrosion of metal parts, or a false test readings. The next test is heavy metals. Heavy metals refer to any metallic chemical element with a relatively high density that is toxic or poisonous at low concentrations. Heavy metals are tested once a week for spas and indoor pools. An iron or copper reading above 0.3 parts per million is too high. Heavy metals cause discoloration, staining, and filter problems. Most facilities will use the strips to test the water. To lower heavy metals, the pool must be partially drained and add fresh water. Operational records form. The operational records form is a legal document and it must be kept for 3 years. The water must be tested by a trained person, not necessarily the pool operator. Owners can be held liable for accidents or injuries occurring at the facility. So make sure that you are filling out your records, and you should be filling them out every day and keeping them for 3 years. So this is the records form, which you can find at our State Public Bathing Place website. The pH, chlorine, and turbidity are tested and recorded 4 times a day. You will record them right here. The alkalinity, calcium hardness, cyanuric acid are recorded and tested once a week. So that's this block right here. Also, if you have any of these physical parameters, turbidity, main drain not properly secured, or chemical parameters, improper chlorine or pH that are out of compliance, the facility must close. They are considered imminent health hazards. So let's go into detail a little bit about imminent health hazards. So there's a couple different imminent health hazards present in the pool. Turbidity. So that's where you can't see the main drain clearly from the deck. If you can't see it, close the pool. If your chlorine is below 0.1 part per million or your bromine is below 2 parts per million, then you need to close the pool as well because there's no sanitizer in the water. So essentially you're just swimming in a giant bathtub and there's nothing to kill the bacteria from another person. If your pH is not between 7.2 or 7.8, so if it's below 7.2 or above 7.8, the pool must close. The main drain must be properly secured, so if you're missing a screw, you do need to close the pool until you find or replace that screw. The spa must be below 105, so if the spa is above 105, please close the spa. And if you have absolutely no safety equipment poolside, then you also need to close. So if any of these items are found to be out of compliance, your pool will be asked to close until the items are corrected. So please make sure that you are aware of these and doing the right thing and closing the pool when it does need to be closed.
Why shock? The reasons to shock the water. You'll shock the water because of a high combined chlorine, to superchlorinate the water, for an algae shock, a fecal accident shock, or possibly a waterborne illness shock. Shocking procedure. Shocking or oxidation is the process of chemically removing organic debris from the water. To shock the pool, You mix granular calcium hypochlorite, which is 65% available free chlorine, into a bucket of water. You let the residuals settle out, and then you add the liquid around the perimeter of the pool. Combined chlorine is the chlorine that is tied up with swimmer waste, rain, or organic compounds, also known as chloramines. Chloramines are irritating to the skin, eyes, and are foul-smelling. Pool water with high chloramines is a weak disinfectant and should be shocked as soon as possible. Combined chlorine is 40 to 60% less effective than free available chlorine in the water. Free available chlorine is what oxidizes the nitrogen compounds in the water. Superchlorinization. Shocking or superchlorinization is the process of eliminating combined chlorine from the water by adding a large dose of chlorine to the water to reach what is called chlorine breakpoint. Breakpoint chlorinization is reached when the available chlorine is high enough to completely oxidize all organic matter and ammonium compounds in the pool water. To determine the combined available chlorine, you simply subtract the free available chlorine from the total available chlorine. Multiply the combined available chlorine by 10 to determine the breakpoint chlorinization. The example we have here, we have a total available chlorine of 3 minus free available chlorine of 2, which gives us a combined available chlorine of 1. We simply subtract 2 from 3 to get that. Now, to reach breakpoint chlorinization, we would multiply the combined available chlorine by 10. So 1 times 10 is 10 parts per million, which is the amount of chlorine needed to reach breakpoint. Now we have a chart that we use to determine how much chlorine it takes to raise the water 1 part per million. So you find the percentage of available chlorine and how many gallons of water is in the pool. Where they intersect is the amount of chlorine compound necessary to raise the chlorine content 1 part per million. Never add large amounts of chemicals to pools at one time. Always add smaller amounts over an extended period of time, and always check to make sure your chemicals are in balance as you go. Never shock the pool with bathers in the water. A good rule of thumb when shocking a pool is 1.25 pounds of shock per 10,000 gallons of water will raise the chlorine level 1 part per million. Chlorine breakpoint. Now we're going to use the chart to show you how to figure chlorine breakpoint. In this example, you find the free available chlorine, which is 65% available. And since there's no column for 40,000 gallons, we find the 20,000 gallon volume column. Where they intersect is the amount of chlorine necessary to raise the chlorine 1 part per million in a 20,000 gallon pool, which gives you the number of 4.11 ounces. Since we need the amount necessary for a 40,000 gallon pool, we simply double that amount and we have 8.22 ounces. Now, to figure your break point, you multiply that by 10, which gives you 82.2 ounces. To convert it into pounds, you simply divide 82.2 by 16, and you come up with 5.14 pounds of calcium hypochlorite. Another reason to shock is for algae removal or to control the growth of algae in the pool. To shock for algae, the free available chlorine needs to be raised to 30 parts per million. On this chart, you simply find the percentage of available chlorine and the column representing the number of gallons of water in the pool. Where they intersect is the amount of chlorine compound necessary to raise the chlorine content 30 parts per million. Scrubbing the walls will facilitate an easy removal of the algae. Never shock the pool with bathers in the water. Now we're going to give an example of how to use the chart for algae shock. You find the available chlorine, which is 65% available in the example above. And since there's no column for 40,000 gallons of water, we simply use the 20,000 gallon column. Where they intersect is the amount of chlorine needed to shock the 20,000 gallon pool to 30 parts per million for algae. Since the example is for 40,000 gallons, you will need to double the amount required. 7.7 pounds times 2 gives us 15.4 pounds of calcium hypo to reach an algae shock. Now we're going to discuss solid fecal accidents. For solid fecal in the pool, the first thing you would do is remove the bathers and close the pool. Then you remove as much of the fecal matter as possible. Add chlorine to the affected area, 1 ounce of calcium hypo, or 4 to 5 ounces of sodium hypochlorite. Record the incident and wait 30 minutes. Check that the chemicals are within range before reopening the pool. High levels of cyanuric acid will make the chlorine sanitizer less effective when treating for a fecal incident. Now we're going to discuss a watery fecal accident or a vomiting accident. The first thing you're going to do is remove the bathers and close the pool. Then you're going to remove the fecal and the vomit as much as possible. You're going to raise the chlorine level to 20 parts per million and maintain the pH at a level of 7.5. Record the incident and wait 12.75 hours before you can reopen the pool. Backwash the filter. Lower the chlorine level back to 5 parts per million using sodium thiosulfate if necessary. Check that the chemicals are in compliance before reopening the pool. Now we're going to discuss Cryptosporidium, which is the microscopic parasite that causes the diarrheal disease cryptosporidiosis. Both the parasite and the disease are commonly referred to as crypto. This is a chart indicating the time and the concentration required to inactivate crypto in the water. At 20 parts per million chlorine, it takes 12.75 hours to deactivate crypto, or at 10 parts per million chlorine, it takes 25.5 hours to deactivate crypto. Remember to report all accidents and incidents to the local health department as soon as possible. The incident report form is available on the Oklahoma State Department of Health website. Now we're going to discuss recreational water illnesses, or RWIs. RWIs are disease-causing organisms transmitted in the water, also known as waterborne pathogens. These waterborne pathogens are transmitted by ingestion, which is swallowing, inhalation, which is breathing, and absorption through your skin. Those at high risk for RWIs are children, elderly, and immune-deficient people. Waterborne illnesses can be transmitted by bacteria, viruses, protozoa, and amoebas. Many of these are found in open waters throughout the state. They can be transferred into your pool by people using the same swimsuits that they also used in lakes or ponds. How to prevent RWIs. One key way to help prevent recreational waterborne illnesses is to shower before you get into the pool. Showering also helps rinse off dirt and other bodily fluids that may take up pre-available chlorine. However, we all know most bathers do not actually bathe before getting in, which is why it is important to test and keep the water balanced at all times. How do you prevent RWIs? Education. As a pool operator, it's your responsibility to prevent these pathogens from being transmitted into the pool. You should educate your bathers to prevent these discharge accidents by ensuring that parents know swim diapers are always required, that children should not drink the pool water, and that anyone with diarrhea in the past month should not go swimming. A person with crypto, even if they are feeling fine, can shed crypto for up to 2 weeks after they feel better. You can educate people with the use of signs, conversations, or handouts in community newsletters. Adjusting chemicals. Never add large amounts of chemicals to the pool at one time. Always add smaller amounts over an extended period of time, and always checking your other chemicals as you go. When adjusting the pool chemicals in your water, there's a certain order of application you should follow. The first thing you want to adjust is your free available chlorine, then your total alkalinity, then your pH, then your calcium hardness, and finally on outdoor pools, your cyanuric stabilizer. So, when you adjust your free available chlorine first, the range should be 1 to 5 parts per million, ideally 2 to 4. For stabilized chlorine, adjust a chlorinator or add free chlorine. Continuous hand feeding of a pool to maintain sanitizer level is not acceptable. Putting tabs in the skimmer or on the bottom of the pool is unacceptable. To adjust unstabilized chlorine, use the chart for shocking that raises chlorine 1 part per million. To decrease chlorine levels, add sodium thiosulfate or dilute the water. Next thing you're going to adjust is your alkalinity. So you want to keep your alkalinity of a range of 80 to 200 parts per million. Ideally, 80 to 100 for sodium hypochlorite or 100 to 120 for sodium trichlor or bromine. Sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda, is used to increase alkalinity. Sodium bisulfate or muriatic acid will decrease the alkalinity. To increase alkalinity, you find the desired part per million that is needed to increase the alkalinity in the pool. You find the total gallons of water. Where they intersect is the amount of baking soda necessary to raise the alkalinity to the desired part per million. To raise the alkalinity 40 parts per millionth on a 50,000 gallon pool, you will need 28 pounds of sodium bicarbonate. Never add large amounts of chemicals to the pool at one time. You always add smaller amounts over an extended period of time. To decrease alkalinity, find the desired parts per million that is needed to decrease the alkalinity in the pool. Find the total gallons of water. Where they intersect is the amount of muriatic acid necessary to lower the alkalinity to the desired part per million. To decrease alkalinity 40 parts per millionth on a 50,000 gallon pool, you will need to add 3.99 gallons of muriatic acid. However, you're not going to go out there and dump 4 gallons of muriatic acid into your pool. Add maybe half of that. Check your chemicals and see if you need to add any more. Next item we're going to discuss is pH. You adjust your pH, of course, after the alkalinity. The range should be 7.2 to 7.8, ideally 7.5. Sodium carbonate is used to raise pH, and sodium bisulfate or muriatic acid is used to lower pH. To increase pH, you simply find the number of drops of reagent, 006, used to raise the pH to the desired level. Then you find the total gallons of water in the pool. Where they intersect is the amount of soda ash in pounds necessary to raise the pH to the desired level. To raise the pH 4 drops on a 50,000 gallon pool, you will need 6.41 pounds of soda ash. Okay, to decrease pH, you simply find the number of drops of reagent 005 used to lower the pH to the desired level. Find the total gallons of water of the pool. Where they intersect is the amount of liquid muriatic acid necessary to decrease the pH to the desired level. So basically the same thing we did before, but we're going to decrease in this. We're now going to demonstrate how to use the drop test to raise the pH. As you can see in the flask here, the pH is well above 7.8, probably closer to 8.0 or more. So we're going to show you how to figure out how many drops it takes using the drop test so you can use it in your manual that has your charts on it. So, really need to get our finger. What was it, about 5 drops in? Okay. So it took approximately 5 drops.
It looks like it's like 7.4.
And the pH is now showing 7.4. As you can see, it took 5 drops to change the pH to the desired pH. You can consult your manual with your chart on there to determine, based on the number of gallons of your pool, how much chemical you need to add to the pool to make the proper adjustment. The next chemical we're going to discuss is calcium hardness. The range should be between 50 and 500 parts per million, ideally between 200 and 400 parts per million. Calcium chloride is used to increase calcium hardness. A low calcium hardness could result in etching. To decrease calcium hardness, partially drain the pool and add fresh water. A high calcium hardness can result in cloudy water or scaling. Now we're going to use the chart to figure out how to increase calcium hardness. So you find the desired part per million that is needed to increase the calcium hardness in the pool. Find the total gallons of water. Where they intersect is the amount of calcium chloride necessary to raise the calcium hardness to the desired part per million. To raise the calcium hardness 40 parts per million on a 50,000 gallon pool, you will need to add 24 pounds of calcium chloride. The only way to decrease calcium hardness in the pool is to partially drain the pool and add fresh water. The next chemical we're going to discuss is cyanuric acid. You need to adjust your cyanuric acid last, and the range should be somewhere between 30 and 100 parts per million. 30 to 50 is what they say is ideal, but we prefer that you keep it 30 to 40 if possible. To lower cyanuric acid, partially drain the pool and add fresh water. Now we're going to discuss a saltwater system. A lot of pools are going to saltwater systems. Although they still use chlorine as the sanitizer, the chemicals in saltwater systems are adjusted in a different order. So when you're doing a saltwater system, the first thing you're going to adjust is the chlorine. Follow the directions on the bag. Then you're going to adjust the cyanuric acid, outdoor only. Then you're going to adjust your alkalinity, calcium hardness, and pH last. Chemical storage. Store pool chemicals in original containers in a dry area. Operators are required to have on hand at least a 2-week supply of chemicals at all times. A sign stating pool chemicals shall be posted on the door leading into the chemical storage area or wherever chemicals are stored. And the chemical storage should not be accessible to the public. The do's and don'ts when it comes to pool chemicals. So we're going to highlight a few of the things that are on the slide that you're looking at now. You always follow the label directions. You always keep the containers of chemicals properly sealed. You always add chemicals to the water slowly. And you always store pool chemicals separately from other chemicals such as gasoline or oil. Always protect your eyes and your skin. Now the don'ts. Never mix your chemicals together. Never smoke around chlorine or other pool chemicals. Never inhale the fumes as they are lethal. Never add calcium chloride the same day as you do sodium bicarbonate or it will cloud your water. Never add large amounts of chemicals at one time. And never add chemicals to the pool with swimmers present. We are now going to discuss the parts of the pump room. So we have the pump with the compound gauge, the filter, which should be NSF approved, influent and effluent gauges, flow meter, the heater, if necessary, chlorinator, NSF approved also, sight glass, and remember, you must always post the total gallons and the gallons per minute in the pump area. So now we've got a diagram of a typical pump room for you to see. As you can see, the pipes show the direction of flow, and the valves should be labeled. This is an illustration of a typical pump room. The water comes in from the pool, it is sucked in by the pump, and then goes through the filter. After the filter, it goes through the heater, and finally the chlorinator before returning to the pool. As you can see in our diagram, we have labeled a few things so you'll know what's required in the pump room. So the first thing you see is the pump itself with a compound gauge. We also have a check valve so the water doesn't backflow. The next thing you'll see is the influent gauge at the top of the filter, which is the common location for influent gauges. And then you'll see an effluent gauge where the water leaves the filter. Then you'll see the flow meter. And since this pool is heated, it does require 2 thermometers in line, one on the inlet line and one on the outlet line. You're also required to have a handheld thermometer for a heated facility. Next, the water has another check valve between the chlorinator and the heater so that the water doesn't backflow into the heater. And then the water passes through the chlorinator and is returned to the pool. The pump pulls the water from the pool. The compound gauge tells you when the strainer basket is full of debris, leaves, grass, whatever. An extra hair lint basket is required to replace the one being cleaned. This will allow you to let one basket dry, which is much easier to remove debris from a dry basket than from a wet basket. The filter. All filters must be NSF approved. The filter removes dirt and suspended particles from the water. There are 4 types of filter. The high-rate sand filter, which is the most commonly used today. The cartridge filter, which is gaining in popularity. The rapid rate sand filter, which is not used as much. And the diatomaceous earth filter, which is a very good filter but very labor intensive. First, we're going to discuss the high-rate sand filter. High-rate sand filters are the most commonly used type filter. There are 2 layers of filter media, the sand and pea gravel. It has the highest filter rate at 15 gallons per minute per square foot. If using more than one filter, they may be backwashed collectively. Using flocculants is not recommended. To backwash or clean the filter, reverse the flow of the water through the filter. Sand needs to be replaced when it becomes compacted, which generally is 2 to 3 years. We are now going to show you a cutaway of a high-rate sand filter. Here we have a cutout of a rapid rate sand filter for you to see the inside of. So as you can see, the water will come in here, go up through here, it's forced out through the holes in the top of the filter, then it's forced down with pressure to the bottom lateral lines. I'm going to take one out here to demonstrate it for you, that you can see the little cuts in the bottom of the lateral line. This is where the water will go back in. It'll be forced back up into this pipe and come back out this pipe to return to your pool. Each one of these lateral lines has these same little grooves in here so the water can be pushed through there. If you go out to your swimming pool and you see sand under all of the returns or under a few of the returns in the pool, most likely your lateral line is broken and you need to make an adjustment by taking the sand out and either repairing it or replacing it. So the last item we're going to discuss when it comes to rapid rate sand filters is freeboard. Freeboard is the area between the top of the sand and the top of the filter that allows the sand to expand when you're backwashing your filter. Now we're going to go back and discuss cartridge filters. Several large filters make up the cartridge. It has the lowest filtering rate at 0.375 gallons per minute per square foot. It requires a manual cleaning station. To clean this filter, you use TSP to remove the oils before using muriatic acid to remove the scale. Do not use a detergent to clean the filters, or this will cause severe foaming in your pool or hot tub. The facility is required to have a second set of filters to replace the originals while they are being cleaned. The next type of filter we're going to discuss is the rapid rate sand filter. Rapid rate sand filters use multiple layers of sand and gravel in multiple large tanks. The filter rate is 3 gallons per minute. Each tank must be backwashed individually. Flocculants are commonly added to a rapid rate sand filter, and they are added directly into the pool. They clump the microscopic particles that are suspended in the water, which then can be vacuumed up. This is only recommended for the rapid rate sand filter. The next type of filter we're going to discuss is the diatomaceous earth filters, which are rarely used now because they are very labor intensive. They filter the water at a rate of 2.5 gallons per minute per square foot and are very efficient. DE is a single tank with a series of flat screens that are coated with diatomaceous earth. The filter media has to be removed and replaced whenever the system is backwashed. They compact and filter out smaller particles compared to the other filters. They are also cleaned with trisodium phosphate. We're now discussing influent and effluent gauges. Influent and effluent gauges are required on every pool. These gauges measure the pressure in the water line in pounds per square inch. The influent gauge measures the pressure in the water line prior to the filter. The effluent gauge measures the pressure in the water line that is leaving the filter and returning to the pool. The common location for the influent gauge is at the top of the filter. Now we'll discuss backwashing. Backwashing is reversing the system so that the water passes the opposite way through the filter to clean the filter before going to waste. A good rule of thumb is to backwash when the pressure difference between the influent and effluent gauges is approximately 8 to 10 pounds per square inch. There are two types of backwash valves, the multi-port and the push-pull. Most systems use the multi-port valve now. The pump must be turned off prior to changing the multi-port valve to the backwash position. Backwash until the water is clear, which typically takes 2 to 3 minutes. We'll now discuss the flow meter. The flow meter measures the gallons of water that pass through the system in 1 minute. Having an accurate flow meter ensures that the system turns over in the required period of time. For swimming pools, an 8-hour turnover, wading pools, a 4-hour turnover, and spas, a 30-minute turnover. Many flow meters have two scales, one for Schedule 40 PVC and the other for Schedule 80 PVC. Make sure that you are reading the correct scale. Most pools are Schedule 40 PVC. Heated facilities. On a spa, the recommended temperature is 90 degrees Fahrenheit, not to exceed a maximum temperature of 105 degrees Fahrenheit. On a swimming pool, the minimum temperature recommended is 75 degrees Fahrenheit with a maximum temperature of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. On an indoor pool, air temperature should have the water temperature plus 8 degrees Fahrenheit should be your maximum, and the water temperature minus 2 degrees Fahrenheit should be your minimum. So, if an indoor pool air temperature is 77 degrees Fahrenheit, the maximum water temperature is 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum water temperature is 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Chlorinators. Tablet-type chlorinators feed chlorine or bromine into the water line through erosion. Liquid chlorine and pH-adjusting chemicals are automatically fed to the water line by peristaltic and diaphragm-type feeders. Do not hand feed the pool unless shocking the pool. Salt systems. Keep in mind with salt systems, chlorine is still the primary sanitizer. Salt systems use electrolysis to split the sodium chloride into chlorine and other chemicals. When measured, if your salt levels are too low or non-existent, and even if the salt levels are too high, which overwhelms the system, it means that there is no chlorine being generated for the pool. You must be able to maintain the required 1 part per millionth of chlorine in your pool at all times. To keep the salt system in working order, use the salt specified by the system manufacturer. The manufacturer will set the high and low salt levels, which are usually around 1,800 parts per million to 3,200 parts per million. A water control system is necessary for salt water systems, and only reversing flow cells are approved. Here we have a picture of salts, the interior of a salt cell. The cell is the part of the system that generates the chlorine through electrolysis. The cell lasts about 3 years and requires frequent cleaning. Follow the manufacturer's instructions when cleaning the cell. Remember, when the salt level reaches the high or low limit, this could result in no chlorine being generated. The salt level indicator light may show green, but regular testing is still required to ensure proper levels of chlorine are being generated. Always replace the cell with the appropriate size required for the pool. And the diagram that we are showing you here, the top cell is a clean cell, and the bottom cell is a cell that needs to be cleaned. Here's the typical saltwater system. As you can see, the salt is added directly to the pool manually. The pump pulls the water out of the pool and pushes it through the filter. This system has a heater that the water will pass through. Finally, it will go through the conversion cell that reacts with the salt to create the free chlorine before returning to the pool. Now I'm going to discuss valves. Ball valves and butterfly valves are two types of valves used for the main drain and skimmers. A check valve is used to prevent water from flowing backwards through the system. Multi-port valves are used for backwashing, as previously discussed. Make sure the pump is off before changing the multi-port valve position. The main drain and the skimmers must be valved separately. And the last item I'm going to discuss is sight glasses. The sight glass is only required if the water being backwashed cannot be observed. It allows the operator to monitor when the filter is clean, thus preventing the waste of water.
Now let's discuss the parts of the pool. You have the main drain, skimmer, inlet, stairs and stair stripes, ladders, depth markers, lifeline, diving board, and pool light. Pool outlets. Pool outlets, so that's your main drain and skimmers or your gutters, return water from the pool to the pump. Properly installed covers that meet the anti-sand standards or the Virginia Graham-Baker Act must be installed on every main drain and equalizer line. The anti-vortex cover must be properly secured to the main drain and the openings for the equalizer lines. If either is not secured, then the pool must close immediately. Here are the approved anti-entrapment systems for the main drain. A safety vacuum release system, so that'll shut the pump off. A suction limiting vent system, it must be tamper resistant. A gravity drainage system that utilizes a collector tank, so essentially the water from the pool goes into this collection tank and then it's fed to the pump. So it's not actually sucking from the main drain. An automatic pump shutoff system, a device or system that disables the drain. So essentially if something is over the drain and it can't get any suction, then it'll automatically turn off and it will no longer suck at the main drain. Or an unblockable suction outlet. So these are your trench drains, so they're the really long, thin drains. The main drain usually moves about 30% of the total flow of the pool. It must be contrasting in color or have a 2-inch contrasting colored stripe completely around the drain. The main drain has to be VGB, Virginia Graham-Baker Act, compliant. You must always be able to see the main drain from the deck. If you can't see the main drain, the pool must close. So as you can see in this picture, we have the main drains that are contrasting color and you can very easily see them from the deck. Another way that the water is returned to the pump is through the skimmer. The skimmer cleans the surface of the water by removing the oil and the debris. There are several different parts to the skimmer. The first is the weir, which is right here. So the weir floats the oil and the debris on the surface of the pool. This allows them to go into the skimmer and be filtered from the pool. So the weir will prevent it from going back out into the pool. Next is the basket, which is right here. The basket collects the debris such as leaves and other organics. Next is the float, which is right underneath the basket. The float controls the amount of water that goes through the skimmer. The float valve, check valve, and equalizer line work in unison to protect the pump if the water level flows below the skimmer. So what will happen is this float will seal the chamber. The check valve, which is right here, will pop open and allow the water to go through the equalizer line. This is the equalizer right here. So the equalizer line will pull the water from the pool and go through this part right here and back to the pump. This only happens if the water falls below the skimmer level. So if the water is not shallower than here, this whole thing will engage and it'll start sucking water from here. That way your pump does not burn up. Here's a picture of your typical skimmer. So you have the basket, your float, and then there should be a check valve. This is what your check valve looks like. It will screw into the hole closest to the pool side. So it should go right there. So when the skimmer basket is full of debris, it will slow the flow rate. How many skimmers do you need? So for a pool, you will need 1 skimmer per 600 square feet of surface area. A wading pool needs 1 skimmer per 400 square feet of surface area. And a spa needs 1 skimmer per 50 square feet of surface area. Gutters. Gutters are another way that water is returned to the pump. The water should be maintained at a level that will ensure a constant overflow into the gutter when no bathers are present. Gutters must be kept clean and in good repair, so you should always have water going from the pool into the gutter. Surge or balance tank. These work with the gutters. So a surge or a balance tank are used in conjunction with gutter systems. These tanks hold displaced water from the gutters in the pool. The tanks help establish hydraulic equilibrium. Each swimmer will displace approximately 20 gallons of water. So here's your typical gutter system. What will happen is water will flow from the pool into the gutter, which then goes and is held in this balance tank. The pump then will suck the water from the balance tank and push it into the filter. Then the water will go to the chlorinator before returning to the pool. These pictures are the water return inlets. They are eyeball return inlets, which return water from the filter to the pool. They should be facing down and to the right or the left at a 45-degree angle. All the inlets should be facing the same direction to facilitate a circulation of water in the pool. Stairs must be recessed or extend completely across the shallow end. All steps that make up the stairs must have a 2-inch contrasting colored stripe on both the rise and the run of the step. So it should be on the top and on the front of the step. Contrasting tile or paint are 2 acceptable methods to stripe the stairs. A minimum of 1 handrail is required for each set of stairs. Ladders must be kept in good repair. There must be a handrail on each side of the ladder, which must be secured. Ladder rungs can be recessed into the wall. So this picture right here shows the ladder being built into the pool. Ladders must have a proper bumper guard to protect the pool finish. The bumper guards are missing in the ladder in this picture. So as you can see right here, that it has already made a hole in the pool finish. Depth markers. Depth markers must be on the deck and the wall of the pool. They shall be located at a minimum depth, maximum depth, and the break point. They also have to be at every 1 foot increment of change in depth in the shallow end and 2 foot increment in the deep end. They also must not be spaced more than 25 feet apart. There should be no less than 3 markers per pool. Depth markers must be at least 4 inches tall and contrasting in color. Pools open to the general public must have a raised or etched depth marker. So as you can see, we have 1 depth marker in the pool and 1 on the deck. A lifeline shall be provided on pools with a depth of 5 feet or more where there is a change in slope between the shallow and the deep end. It is recommended that a dark stripe be painted below the lifeline. Diving boards. Pools with diving facilities shall be designed to the standards set by FINA, NCAA, or the U.S. Diving. Diving boards and platforms exceeding 3 meters in height shall not be open to the general public. Regularly inspect the bolts, treads, and other parts for corrosion. Replace as needed. If replacing, please contact the local health department for guidance. Pool lights. All swimming pool lights can be quickly removed from the light niche and generally have 8 to 10 feet of extra cord so that they can be brought up to the deck for bulb replacement. Because a pool light is water cooled, never operate the light unless it is submerged in the water. To do so could result in an explosion of the lens, a broken bulb, and a damaged gasket. Always shut off the circuit breaker prior to working on a pool light. Always make sure that the new light bulb is the same style, voltage, and wattage as the old bulb. Always replace the old gasket with a new light gasket. This may be done every time the light is opened up. Always apply a thin coat of Teflon-based lubricant on the sealing surface of the light gasket. If the unit is sealed by screws, lubricate those as well. Spas. These are typically common in health clubs and hotels. Spas will have a higher chemical demand due to a higher turnover rate, higher water temperature, higher soil load, and a higher bathing load. Sometimes the total dissolved solids are so high that the spa must be drained and refilled with fresh water and the chemicals readjusted. Spas need to be in the compliance with the following items. Ensure correct signage is posted. The spa temperature must not exceed 105 degrees Fahrenheit. If it does, you need to close. The main drain must be clearly visible from the deck. Again, if you cannot see it, please close. Tests and records per code. Spas should be drained and cleaned at least twice a month. Life-saving equipment. So your ring buoy, shepherd's crook, backboard, lifeguards chairs. And again, if you have no life-saving equipment, that means your pool should not be open. The minimum life-saving equipment is 2 ring buoys with enough rope to cover the length of the pool and a shepherd's crook on a 16-foot pole with an 18-inch long hook with an opening. Some smaller pools may not need a 16-foot pole, so use your judgment. For pools that are 1,600 feet or more, double the safety equipment and add a backboard. So that means you should have 4 ring buoys, 2 shepherd's crooks, and a backboard. Lifeguard chairs. 1 elevated chair is required for every 2,000 square feet of water. Lifeguard chairs are required at all pools that are open to the general public. Safety equipment. So that means your emergency phone numbers, first aid kit, fire extinguisher, and emergency exit. Facilities are required to have a dedicated emergency phone without the use of coins that is available during all hours of operation. Emergency phone numbers must be posted by the phone. So if you're in an apartment and your emergency phone is in the clubhouse, that means the pool can only be open the same hours as the clubhouse. Here is a fully stocked, Red Cross approved first aid kit. It must be available in the pool area. A fire extinguisher suited to the structure, wiring, and equipment to be protected shall be provided. It shall be located where readily available. A carbon tetrachloride extinguisher is not acceptable. Emergency exit. The emergency exit shall be plainly marked in the bathhouse and the fencing structure. Lifeguards. Lifeguards are required at pools open to the general public. Pools that are open to the general public and or have a diving board higher than 1 meter are required to have lifeguards. There shall be 1 lifeguard per 75 swimmers. Enough lifeguards shall be provided so that the only duty of the lifeguard on watch is to observe the swimmers.
Lifeguards must be at least 16 years old. The current advanced life-saving certificate must be displayed for each lifeguard. Lifeguards shall be competent in life-saving methods, able to perform artificial respiration, CPR, able to command respect, and be capable swimmers in good physical condition. For pools that are not open to the general public, a no lifeguard on duty sign shall be posted. Pool rules and spa rules. Here's an example of an acceptable pool rule sign. It does have some extra rules on it. Pool rules. The minimum required rules are: number 1, a cleansing shower bath using warm water and soap must be taken before entering the pool. Number 2, persons with open wounds, bandages, or any symptoms of communicable diseases shall be prevented from entering the pool. Number 3, swimming alone is prohibited. Number 4, at wading pools and pools which do not have attendants or lifeguards on duty, children under 12 years of age must be accompanied by a legal adult responsible for that individual child at the poolside. A legal adult is someone 18 years or older that is actively supervising the child, not taking a nap in the car. Facilities can make the age limit higher, so 14 or 16, but the minimum age limit is 12. At wading pools, children over 12 are prohibited. Rule number 5. Running and rough play are prohibited in and around the pool. Number 6. Cutoffs should be hemmed. Number 7. Excessive body lotion shall be removed prior to entering the water. Number 8. Bathing load limits shall be posted and enforced. And number 9, no lifeguard or attendant on duty shall be posted where appropriate. So that's the pools not open to the general public. Spas will have the same rules as the pool with 2 additional rules. Number 1, persons who are pregnant, taking medication, or having a history of cardiovascular disease shall consult a physician before entering the water. Number 2, drugs and alcohol are prohibited. Fencing. Chain link fence, steel bars, wood, and masonry are all acceptable forms of fencing around the pool. Masonry fence is acceptable as long as there are openings with bars in the fence for observations. No type of fence shall form a ladder. Indoor pools. Indoor pools must be located in a room with self-closing and self-latching doors. The doors must be locked and the pool closed sign must be posted when the pool is not in operation. Outdoor pools that are not open to the general public. So these are your apartments, HOAs, hotels, and motels. They must have self-closing, self-latching gate. They must be at least 4 feet tall, and there must not be gaps more than 4 inches between the bars or the bottom of the fence. Fencing cannot prevent visual observation of the pool area. The above items are intended to prevent unattended small children from entering the pool. Outdoor pools that are open to the general public. So these are your water parks and city pools. They shall have a 6-foot-high chain link fence. The gates must be locked when not opened. Bathers shall not have access to the pool area unless a lifeguard is present. The fence shall not prevent visual observation of the pool deck and area. So these fences do not require self-closing or self-latching gates, provided there is a lifeguard or attendant present to monitor the gate. Bathhouse, so pools that are open to the general public and pools that are not open to the general public. So bathhouses are required at all facilities open to the general public and HOAs with 30 homes or more. Bathing places not open to the general public, these are your apartment complexes, hotels, or motels, are not required to have a poolside bath or sanitary facility, provided that all lodging units provide bath and toilet facilities, and the use of the pool is restricted to tenants and their guests. Bathhouses must have an adequate supply of warm water within the temperature range of 95 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit for both the shower and the lavatories. The showers and lavatories must be provided with liquid soap dispensers. Proper bathroom supplies must be maintained in the bathhouse. Bathhouse surfaces, sinks, toilets, must be cleaned daily with a bleach solution. Drinking fountains. Pools open to the general public and HOAs are required to have a drinking fountain available for both sexes, or the drinking fountain must be located where both sexes have access to it. Apartment complexes, hotels, and motels are not required to provide a drinking fountain, provided that each unit has potable water source. Additional requirements. So you'll need ventilation, lighting, and electrical. Ventilation. Indoor pools, shower rooms, dressing rooms, and toilets shall be properly ventilated. All interior rooms shall be ventilated so that they do not remain excessively damp. Toilets shall be properly ventilated to the outside. The interior of pump rooms where chlorine gas vapors may be present must be properly ventilated. Lighting. A complete system of artificial lighting shall be provided for all pools, restrooms, toilet facilities, shower rooms, storerooms, and other areas of the public bathing place. Area lighting and interior room lighting must be a minimum of 10-foot candles. Emergency lighting shall be provided at all indoor bathing facilities. Electrical. Ground fault interrupters, GFIs, are required at any outlet within 15 foot of the pool. There shall be no overhead wiring, and all wiring shall conform to the National Electrical Code. Light bulbs over the pool shall be protected. Closing your pool. Winterizing it, closing it for repairs, or permanently closing it. Winterization. Chapter 320, 3-11 gives you 3 options when closing your pool for the season, or temporarily closing it for repairs. The first option, which is right here, is to completely drain the pool. The second option, which is this option, is to keep the chemicals in the water and maintained and make sure that the water is clear. The third option is to cover the pool. The pool cover must be securely anchored to the deck and able to support 1,000 pounds. If you choose to cover your pool, you will want to consult a professional prior to blowing out the lines, especially if you do not have any experience in that area. There is a winterization checklist that you can find on our state public bathing places website. Closing for repairs. A major repair is breaking into the pool shell in any way. You will need to complete the application for construction permit prior to any work. The application can be found on the state public bathing places website. If you are making a minor repair, such as replastering or replacing the pumper filter with the same size pumper filter, please contact your local inspector. If you are doing a major remodel, please contact the health department. This includes breaking into the pool shell, resizing the pump or filter, or resizing the circulation piping. Permanent closure. To permanently close the pool must be completely filled in.
Please contact the local health department when permanently closing so that it can be documented that the pool has been filled in. The inspection form. So here's a copy of the inspection form. The first section is the pool area and spa. So your fence, the gate, your pool rules, signs, safety equipment, the deck, pool finish, ladders, skimmers, diving boards. The next section is the circulation and disinfection. So this is where you want to make sure that the pipes are labeled with the flow, where the flow is going, that the flow rate and volume is posted in the pump room, that the flow rate is where the required level, the chlorinator's there, that you have 3 thermometers, and that the chemicals are in the original containers and stored correctly. The next section is your bathhouse. So this is making sure that you have showers and that your bathrooms are in clean working condition and that there's liquid soap. This next section is your water quality. So this is the chlorine, pH, turbidity, total alkalinity, calcium hardness, cyanuric acid, water balance. This is also where we want to make sure that the spa is below 105 degrees. The last section is another section. So this is where the electrical, ventilation, and lighting is. Troubleshooting. If you're having some common problems, you can look at our State Public Bathing Places website for some answers that could help fix some common problems that you're having. Questions. You're more than welcome to view our State Public Bathing Places website, which is the link is there. Or if you have any questions with the operational regulations, those can also be viewed on our state website.
Thank you for watching our pool school video.
We hope this information will be useful to you when operating your pool.
If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us using the information on the screen.